Hi guys, it's Claire. Welcome back. Today I wanted to do the 5-star books prediction that has been going around recently. It was started by Mercedes over at Mercy's Bookish Musings. She's done it a couple of times where she goes through her shelf and picks out some books that she thinks might be 5-star reads. So Goodreads ratings is its whole kind of own can of worms that I'm not going to get into right now. But I guess a 5-star read for me would be a book that I keep on my bookshelf forever, but also that lodges itself deep in my heart somewhere, never to leave for the rest of my days. So that's pretty high bar to clear, but I do have a handful of books that I think might be up to the task. So let's get into it. So the first book I have might be a little bit of a cheat because I've technically already started it, and in fact I've been reading it for months. It is Secondhand Time, The Last of the Soviets by Svetlana Alexievich. This is an oral history of Soviet citizens during and after the fall of the Soviet Union. Svetlana Alexievich won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2015 and was credited with creating a new kind of literary genre. And this book is often described as a history of emotions. The whole book consists of these interviews. Even though it doesn't really feel like a book of interviews, it reads more like all of these people are telling you their own thoughts and their own stories. And it's just completely different from anything else I've ever read before. It's incredibly moving. I don't think you need to know a lot about Russian history before you read it. I certainly don't. I get lost every once in a while, but she does provide historical footnotes to help people like me out. I'm a fan of the Americans, so it definitely gives you a little perspective on that, and you kind of want to go like, Elizabeth, this is not going to end well, you know what I mean? So far, I'm on page 90. There are 470 pages in this version. It is slow going. It's kind of, you know, the material is heavy. It's often quite sad. And I can only really read like 10 or 15 pages at a time, but it is really stunning. The next book in my 5-star book predictions pile is East of Eden by John Steinbeck. I have been meaning to read this book for literal years. I live in California now, so you know, I've been wanting to read some more California writers, and it really does not get more California than John Steinbeck and East of Eden. So yeah, I'm excited about this one. I have seen the movie version of the book. It only, from my understanding, covers a very small portion of the book, but I definitely recommend that you check it out if you want to see, you know, James Dean's feature film debut. So the New York Times referred to his performance as histrionic gingerbread. And next up is Middlemarch by George Eliot. I really have no basis for thinking that this fucking brick of a book is going to be a 5-star read for me, because the only George Eliot I've read is Silas Marner, which I read in high school and literally have no memory of. It's completely wiped. All I remember is maybe like a soggy fireplace or something. I don't even know. But I don't know, yeah, I've always wanted to read Middlemarch. George Eliot really loves and praised Villette by Charlotte Bronte, which is one of my favorite books, so I feel like she has good taste. Yeah, I mean, hopefully it's like at least a 4-star read, you know, if we're gonna like do this thing. But yeah, I don't really know when I'm gonna get to this, but hopefully soon. Next up is A Manual for Cleaning Women, Selected Stories by Lucia Berlin. I've heard her name pronounced Lucia sometimes, I'm not really sure. I heard great things about this book when it came out a couple of years ago. I had never heard of Lucia Berlin. I believe, from my understanding, she's kind of this master of the short story who is largely and sadly kind of forgotten. And then this is a collection of her best works that was published in 2015. Most of the stories in the book are from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So I'm going into this a little bit blind, but I read a sample before I got the book, which seemed really great. And she's been compared to Chekhov and Alice Munro, who I love, so I have high hopes for this one. And last on my list of 5-star prediction books is an audiobook that I'm hoping to get to very soon. It's The New Jim Crow: Mass Incarceration in the Age of Colorblindness by Michelle Alexander. So I've heard a lot about this book. It came out in January of 2010. I feel like even in the last 7.5 years, the way that we talk about race and police brutality and mass incarceration has changed so much. I think these are conversations that people in the Black community have been having and have been aware of for a very long time, but I don't think it was really until the rise of social media, Black Lives Matter, and things that have happened in the last few years that other people, and white people in particular, have really had to confront and reckon with these issues. So I'm curious to see how a book that was kind of a precursor to all of this stuff in 2010 reads today. Yeah, I think it'll be a really good listen. But so yeah, this was a really fun video. I'm excited to see what everyone else has on their 5-star predictions. So let me know what you think in the comments below. If you've read any of these books, yeah, let me know what you think. I'll be curious to hear. So see you next time, guys. Thanks.